Could be another afternoon for strong and severe storms across our area.
Yeah, we're seeing things up around the Brazos right now. Around Cameron, for example, we've had, I think, 3 tornado warnings now at this point. So we don't have anything confirmed, but it's a good indication that we've got more rotation to the atmosphere now. The big low that's driving all of this is closer to us. So it's just like if you take your hand, you put it in a bowl, and you just kind of swirl it around. The more you swirl it, the things that are closer to it are going to be more affected. The little eddies, right, that kind of roll around that if you've ever watched it in a stream. Works the same way in the atmosphere. So let's get out and show you what's happening out there. I want to show you the hail. Remember the hail yesterday afternoon when you guys were on the air at 3 o'clock and it was rocking, right? That may be part of the issue, but I think most of that same story will likely be, you can see north of College Station. This is our hail tracker over the last hour. I've got it from Rockdale to Cameron to Marlin. You see we've got severe thunderstorm warnings, and that red box in the center, that is a new active tornado warning over towards the area right around Cameron. So that's what we're watching for now. Let me show you what the Storm Tracker 2 radar looks like. I'm going to first start up around here and the enormous amount of lightning. In fact, if you just look at it right now, we're talking almost 2,000 lightning strikes, right? And it's only within about 4 or 5 cells. So that's an indication that the atmosphere is super juiced. These storm tops are about 45, 50,000 feet, right? So you got a lot of electricity up there. You got a lot of these hailstones that are all smashing into each other, and that may be what makes it down to the ground. Now, let me take that off and show you what we've got. This new tornado warning, as we said, that goes until 12:45. That's for areas around Cameron. That's in Milan County. And let me back out here so that I can take that off so you get a sense over the last hour. I'll show you where these have all been tracking. Now, these have been moving their way across the I-35 corridor, but sliding north up into the northern end of the Brazos Valley. Notice as you get a little closer towards College Station, Navasota, just south and southern parts of Brazos County, not a whole lot happening. Same thing over towards parts of Huntsville down to Montgomery County. Right now, most of it is just some light drizzle and overcast conditions. So it does appear that most of what we're seeing is attached to this area of low pressure is just kind of whipsawing its way through parts of the Brazos. So we're going to watch this very carefully. Now, as we mentioned at the top of the show, the entire area is under a tornado watch until 4 p.m., right? That does include the Houston metro area. Some of that may just be out of an abundance of caution because as this low gets closer to us, you can see it right there, right outside of, Amarillo, for example, and it's been moving all day. So we've got severe weather up across the Dallas-Fort Worth area. We're starting to see the tail end of that develop just south of San Antonio. That may be what we'll be tracking as we get later to, let's say, 7, 8, 9 o'clock tonight. The severe weather risk for the rest of the day today going into the overnight hours is still a 3 out of 5. Notice where the bullseye is. It's very similar to where most of the storms are firing now. Same thing for the hail risk. We saw a lot of those click 2 pins. Thank you all for sending those in. Please be safe if you're going to try to get those today, but it's pretty much the entire area. No reason to believe we won't see a few more of those storms with some pretty decent hail that's falling. Okay, our future track is actually initializing very well. That's the good news. It's keeping most of the storms up across the Brazos. As we get from 2 to 3 o'clock, notice that starts to shift across our northern counties. Does not include anything for the Houston metro for now. I'm not 100% convinced that that'll be the case, but I'll just show you what it's showing me. By 4 or 5 o'clock, any of these pockets where you see these brighter colors of these purples and blacks, that's an indication that we could see a hail core within that storm. By 8 o'clock, we've got another line forming back off to the west. That falls apart and then reloads as we see this boundary start to flare up down around the coast by 4 or 5 a.m. If that's the case, then we're talking about 6, 7 as we get into the metro. Just look how messy this could get through that morning commute. This isn't going to be fun if this verifies. Heavy rain, lightning, probably some street flooding with that if that's the case. By 10 o'clock, that starts to move out. We get a little bit of a break before we get into the afternoon hours. And then notice by 3, 4, 5 o'clock, it reloads as we go into the rest of our Wednesday afternoon and evening. So that's why I said it's going to take at least another 24 to almost 36 hours for this low to move out of the way. That's why the flash flood risk is still on the high side out there for the rest of the day today. And we could be talking about a potential for anything between 2 to 3 inches of rain. And it wouldn't be shocking to see pockets closer to about 3 to 4. Now, as we get to Thursday, we finally start to see this whole system move out of Texas. And as it does, a much better looking forecast getting into the weekend. What's crazy is by the time we get to Saturday and Sunday, we're going to be like, what a beautiful Mother's Day weekend. What was stable to